Welcome back to Don't Just Cook with Robert Steven Munoz. Today we are going full on Tampanio Cubano. That's right, we are doing Cuban food, but the Tampa way. Because on my mother's side, I am third and fourth generation Cuban American. On my father's side, I'm first generation Cuban American. So our recipes are a little different because the older generations leaned more towards the Spaniard influence. We also had a lot of Italian in my family. So there's a little bit of Italian influence in there. My two friends coming over tonight, one is a true Puerto Rican from New York, so a true New Yorican, and the other one's Italian from New York. But tonight, I'm taking them to Tampa via Cuba, baby. We are gonna do Arroz con Pollo. I got my chicken, my rice ready to go, my sazon, a little cerveza for the rice. I'm going to make a seafood empanada. My mother always does empanadas de jaiba, so that's a crab empanada. But I'm in Palm Springs right now and I could not find any crab, so I'm gonna do a little bit of a seafood blend. And then for dessert, I'm gonna knock it out with un pastel de guayaba. That is a guava pastry, and I'm gonna add some queso to it, some cream cheese. So we're gonna have pasteles de guayaba con queso, arroz con pollo, and empanadas de seafood. So tonight is going to be amazing. Can't wait for them to get here. I know they're gonna be hungry when they come, especially when they smell all those flavors through the air as soon as they walk through the door. So dale, vamos, we gotta go. We gotta get this arroz con pollo going, baby. All right, dale, let's do it.
Okay, so we're ready to get this arroz con pollo going, the chicken and rice. So we've already washed and rinsed out 2 cups of rice. I got chicken thighs here. So traditionally my grandmother, my mother always made it with the chicken thighs, the bone and the skin, boiled it, deboned it, shredded it. Sean doesn't really like chicken thighs, so I have a couple of chicken breasts in here to kind of like chop up and mix in. We've got our holy trilogy, onions, garlic, and green pepper. We got the beer the rice is gonna boil in, a little tomato sauce. Of course, we got the seasoning con azafran, which is the saffron that gives it that beautiful golden color. And then to garnish everything, we have some peas, some pimento, and a little Tabasco to give it a little bit of a kick. So we're gonna get to the stove, and the first thing we gotta do is we gotta boil this chicken, baby. All right, dale. All right, while the chicken is boiling, I'm gonna go ahead and get that empanada stuffing going. So we have our empanada shells, we got a little tomato paste, we got the holy trinity here of green pepper, onion, and garlic, un sofrito that makes everything better. And then for the seafood filling, I have some chopped up boiled shrimp with a little bit of ground tilapia. So we're gonna cook that in the sauce, the onions, and the garlic, make sure it doesn't get too runny. And then we're gonna let it cool so we can stuff and fry those empanadas. So let's get this going, all right? All right, we got that chicken boiling, we got that chicken going. We're gonna let that go. Get it nice and tender.
To saute my onions, green pepper, and garlic, I'm going to use Reverence olive oil right here from San Juan Capistrano in Southern California. It's a delicious olive oil. Get the onions, the garlic, the green pepper in there. I want to add a little salt to get those onions sweating, and we just want to saute this until it's nice and translucent. Hope you enjoyed that ASMR. Now we're going to add a couple tablespoons of tomato paste because we want that rich tomato flavor, but we don't want the excess liquid because we don't want the inside of our empanadas to be too runny. You know, empanada means wrapped in bread. That's where the word empanada comes from. And original recipes for empanadas date back to the 1800s, where original recipes were found in a Catalonian cookbook. So we're gonna saute this, we're gonna let it go. The juices from the seafood will start to release. And then once this gets going and gets bubbling, we will lower the heat to a nice subtle simmer, because that's what's really gonna help these flavors come together. And also make sure that our stuffing is not too runny. And now it's time to get the arroz con pollo going. That's right, rice and chicken, or arroz amarillo con pollo, which is yellow rice and chicken. Again, using that Reverence olive oil, the onion, garlic, and green pepper. Let me tell you, these 3 items together when they hit that hot oil, the smell is incredible, and it's the perfect solution for any and foundation for any meal. Double checking that seafood mixture, it's about done. Now the chicken's time to come out, so we can let that cool, so we could shred it and debone it. That way we can add it back to our yellow rice. Now, I forgot to film putting the actual can of tomato sauce in here, but now I'm adding the bay leaf. I am adding my seasoning, the sazon with the saffron. So it's a mix of herbs and spices and that saffron for that golden color. I like to add a little bit of saffron flour. And now here are my 2 cups of rinsed white rice. I like to use the matam white rice. That's what my grandmother always used. That's what my mother always used. So that's what I use. Now, the measurement that I was taught by my mother is that you want to use about 1 1/3 cup of water per cup of rice. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to actually use 2 cups of that Modelo beer, and then I'm going to use 2/3 of that broth from boiling the chicken. So we get a little water in there, we get that little beer in there. It gives it such a great, rich flavor. It doesn't come out too wet, it doesn't come out too dry. So we're gonna give that all a good little stir. See the bubbles starting to come. Now it's time to add in that shredded, deboned, and cleaned chicken. Gonna get that in there. Also stir that in. All these flavors are gonna come together so amazingly. Don't want to overwork it, don't want to stir it too much, but we want to make sure everything is well incorporated. Look at that. Oh, I wish you could smell it. It smells so good. The flavors are already starting to pop off. Let that simmer and the magic will happen.
Okay, well, the arroz con pollo, or chicken and rice, yellow rice and chicken, whatever you want to call it, is on the stove and it's simmering, taking its sweet time to bring all those flavors together. The seafood mixture that we made has already cooled off. It comes to like room temperature. You just don't want to deal with it while it's too hot and too runny. You want those juices to absorb into the meat a little bit. We got our empanada dough. You want to make sure and get the ones that say baking and frying, because there's some that are just for baking and that's more of like a puff pastry. So for this recipe, you don't want to use those. We're going to use the ones that are for baking and frying because we are going to fry these. I'm dusting my surface with a little bit of flour just to make sure things don't stick too much. Got a spoon and a fork. So you're going to take out your empanada shell. So just going to flatten that out a little bit. No need to roll it out or anything. It's fine just the way it is. I like to just massage it a little bit. We're going to take about a tablespoon of our mixture. Going to put it slightly off center. Fold that empanada over. Smash it down with your finger first. And then we're going to take the fork and crimp it with the fork. This is going to make sure all that delicious meat and all that delicious flavor stays inside the empanada and doesn't leak out everywhere else where you don't want it to be. So we're going to repeat that a few times until we run out of shells or we run out of meat. Either way. Let's do one more for you. Then we're going to kind of just pat that out a little bit. Add about a tablespoon of this mixture. It smells so good. Fold that over. Just press it down with your thumb and finger. Start getting it nice and closed. And then use that fork to crimp it to make sure that dough stays sealed shut while we're frying it. There you go. I mean, how simple is that? And how delicious is this gonna be? So I'm gonna finish assembling these and then we're gonna get them into the fryer. Well, that's it. That's the final empanada. You know, it's funny, as I learn more and more about different cultures and different foods and I travel, you know, the empanada is something that's kind of like almost in every culture and in every type of cuisine. When you think about it, a Pop-Tart is almost like an empanada. So got those all wrapped up. We're gonna pop those into the fridge, let them chill a little bit while we clean up, because then I want to start assembling the guava turnovers, the pasteles de guayaba con queso. So pasteles mean pastry, guava con queso with cheese. So that's what's up next. So let's get these chilling, clean up, and start with those pasteles. Now we are all set to make our guava turnovers. We're gonna do guava. We got the guava jelly here, which is absolutely amazing. It's absolutely delicious. I love it. Don't tell anybody I did that. Some cream cheese. We have our puff pastry. We have a little bit of egg wash and some of our gadgets. So the puff pastry usually comes with 2 sheets. So we're gonna start with 1. We're gonna open it up gently. And then we're just gonna gently roll this out. Don't wanna roll it out too much and ruin those beautiful flaky layers, but we wanna smooth it out, stretch it out a little bit so we have even more space to make even more turnovers. That's it, super simple. Flip it over, give it one more little gentle roll. And then we're going to go ahead and cut our rectangles. So you can basically almost use the creases that are still kind of in the puff pastry. Depending on the size of the pastry you want to make, you can make them bigger, smaller, bite size. So I'm gonna go with probably getting about 6 out of this. So we're gonna follow those creases. And then we're gonna go right across. And there we have it. We have 6 rectangles, all about the same size. Because you want them to be uniform. You want it to look nice when they're on a platter, that they're all about the same size. So now we can assemble. We're gonna put these on our baking sheet, blind it with a sill mat so nothing sticks. Super easy to work with. We'll give these some nice space in between so they could rise and fluff up beautifully. I'm gonna go preheat the oven because I almost forgot to do that. So I've got the oven preheating to about 400 degrees. We've got the first set rolled out. We're gonna go ahead and roll out our second sheet. Again, very gently. We don't wanna lose those flaky layers. You know, and similar to the empanada, you know, handheld pastries like this are pretty much international, just depending on what filling goes inside them and what's added to them, topped, but you can never go wrong with a nice, fluffy, delicious pastry. Let's give that a nice cut. Just eyeballing this, making sure they're all about the same size. Perfect. Now we have our guava. If this is too big of a piece, because you can see it's bigger than the pastry. So we're gonna cut that in half. And we're gonna put 1, 2. So a nice little square of the guava filling in the middle of each rectangle. Because I like to bite into guava when I have a guava pastry. It drives me crazy when you go to a bakery and you're so excited to get a guava pastry, and then you bite into it and 80% of that pastry is just pastry dough and crust and flakiness, and you get just one little tiny mouthful of the actual guava. Yeah, that's not cool. Guava is too delicious to skimp out on. Put another little piece there. We'll use up everything that we have. As if any of this is going to go to waste, seriously. Not in my house. Not with me around. Yeah, my grandmother used to love guava, anything, guava ice cream, a guava milkshake, guava pastries with or without cheese, because you can find these with or without the cheese. So if you're not too sure whether or not you're gonna like the cheese and guava together, you can get a pastel de guayaba or pastel de guayaba con queso. It all depends on you and what you like. I love the cheese ones because you get that saltiness of the cream cheese with the sweetness of the guava and then the buttery flakiness of the pastry dough. So good. So now we're just gonna take one thin slice of the cream cheese, lay it right on top of our little squares of guava. I mean, these are great for dessert. You know, traditionally back home when I was in Miami or in Tampa, this is something that a lot of people would have like for breakfast in the morning. Just a pastel de guayaba and a café con leche, which that's a whole nother episode that we're gonna get to at some point. But yeah, my grandmother used to love this, and then she used to make the most incredible bread pudding with guava, which I have that recipe and I make it every year around the holiday season. It is so good. So definitely stay tuned as we get a little closer to the holidays, because I'm sure I'll be posting that on here as well. Okay, so now we have our guava in the center of each of our pastry squares. If you can see that, this is what they're starting to look like. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a little bit of the egg wash first and brush the edges of our bottom squares, because we wanna make sure the tops and the bottoms stick together. I said, I've seen these in all shapes and forms. Some people cut the dough in a square, put the filling in the center, and then fold it over to form almost like a triangle. I've seen them round. I've seen them look like little purses, almost like a dumpling. So it just depends on where you pick them up, where you get them, and what person made them, and that's the way they like them, so that's the way they make them. So we got that first layer. Now we can start topping them with the toppers. Give that a gentle press and a gentle crimp with a fork, because we want everything to stay inside that pastry. These are gonna be so good. Every culture does things a little differently, depending on your family's background, who taught you what. Everybody tweaks things their own way. So just because somebody does an empanada one way or another, or a guava pastry one way or another, it doesn't make that's the one is right and that one's wrong. I know there's always like a lot of debates between like my mother and my father, because you know, my mother's generation is a little bit older and was here a little bit longer. His family came from Cuba when he was little, so the way they do things is a little bit different. So there's always like a little debate, but the bottom line is, as long as you're cooking with love and you're adding love to the flavor, it's all gonna be delicious, right? So I'm gonna take a little slice right across the top with my knife, because we wanna make sure that these don't explode. So we're gonna let a little air out of the top, just this little slit. And now we're gonna take a little bit more egg wash all the way around the edges and a little on top as well, because we want these to be beautiful and golden when they come out of the oven. What you can also do too, when they come out of the oven, you could take a simple syrup, a sugar water syrup, and brush that on as soon as they come out of the oven. And that's how you get that beautiful kind of like glossy glazed look to some of the pastries. Little inside secret there. Okay, we are all set. Our pasteles de guayaba con queso are ready to go into the oven. Like I said, we've heated the oven to 400 degrees. We're gonna pop these in for about 15 minutes, but we're gonna keep an eye on them. We're gonna just make sure they fluff up and turn a beautiful shade of golden brown on the outside. So stay tuned and see how these come out.
Time to fry up these empanadas. I've put a little canola oil into my pan. Canola oil is great because it doesn't really release any flavor. It doesn't interfere with the flavor of whatever you're frying in it. You know, in Central and South America, a lot of countries throughout that region like to bake their empanadas. In Europe, you can find them baked and or fried in different places depending. And sometimes it depends on what they're stuffed with. And usually, one hint for you, the way the edges are crimped usually will tell you what type of meat is inside. Some are twists, some are ruffled. That usually gives you a clue to what is on the inside, so when you get them home, you know which one is which. But look how beautiful and golden and crispy these are coming out. So perfect, and you can see in seconds they're done. And mira eso, the pasteles de guayaba, look how they're rising so beautifully.
Our empanadas are all set. They look absolutely amazing. They smell so good. You can see that I've added a little bit of flaked salt, sea salt, to the tops. I'm gonna go ahead and transfer them back onto this little baking sheet because then I'm gonna pop them in the oven to keep them warm while I go freshen up and get ready for my guests to arrive, because they should be here soon, and I wanna make sure to be able to get back and do my last little final touches on everything. I wanna bite into one of these so bad right now. I can tell they're crispy and crunchy, light and flaky. These are gonna be amazing with a little hot sauce on top and maybe a little squeeze of lime to bring out those amazing seafood flavors. So stay tuned. I'm gonna go double check on those pasteles de guayaba. Well, look at that. The pasteles came out beautiful. Look at all the layers. Look how light and fluffy and perfectly golden they are. So we are gonna add that little bit of glaze to the top. I have a simple syrup here, a sugar and water syrup that I keep handy. And we're gonna brush a little of that right on top while they're still hot. Not too much, we don't want them to get too sticky or too soggy, but we want them to have that beautiful glossy coat. And then we're gonna let them cool, and then we'll transfer them onto a nice dessert plate. Oh, smells so good. You can smell the butter. You can smell the little bit of guava, the cream cheese coming through. So good. All right, we're gonna let those cool, and while those cool, I'm gonna go freshen up, put something else on, and put the final touches on this perfect Havana Nights, Tampanio Nights, Cuban, Tampa, Florida, whatever you wanna call it, dinner party. All right, see you in a bit. Okay, so I freshened up, changed clothes, got a little salad going, putting some final touches. You know, traditionally we've always had a little Parmesan cheese on our salad. Simple salad, lettuce, tomato, a little cucumber, red wine vinegar, and good, like my grandmother used to call it, the good oil, which meant olive oil. So that's what we're gonna have. I'm gonna put final touches on the table setting and get a little music going, set the tone, set the mood, and get ready for our guests. All right, thanks so much. Don't forget, before I forget, like and subscribe so you know when these videos are coming out, all right? Thanks so much for joining me on Don't Just Cook. Till next time.
Let's take a look around. Here's my platter. I did pick up a tres leches and a flan to really get that full experience. We've set the table. I've got the record player with some Ceia Cruz music playing in the background to create that ambiance. I went ahead and pulled out my old Fiesta ware to give a beautiful color setting to the table to really give that homey vibe. Of course, some wine glasses, because you know we're going to have some wine. Some hot, fresh bread and butter goes with Cuban food always. And here it is, the arroz con pollo. You can see I just sprinkled the peas on top and the pimento scattered right on top as well. So everybody that digs in will get a nice little spoonful of all the flavors. Ron and Andre came over. They also brought a bottle of wine, which was delicious. They have great wine taste. So cheers to friendship, cheers to food, cheers to love. You can never go wrong with friends, good food, and good wine, and just taking a little extra time to what? Don't just cook.